Hello, movie lovers. This is Does It Hold Up? And I know it's been a while since I've seen you guys here on a Tuesday to talk about box office. And that's because I wanted to change up the show a little bit. We're still going to do the top 10 movies over the last weekend, look at the top 10 of 2024 so far, and the weekend to weekend comparison. But all the rest of the show is kind of going away. I'm going to spend the second half of each show breaking down something a little bit more. This week, we're going to talk about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Is he box office poison or is he box office gold? We'll find out in the second half of the show. At first, we're going to talk about the top 10 movies this past weekend at the domestic box office. Like we always do. It's good to be back. Let's get into this. The number one movie at the box office this past weekend was, no surprise, Wicked with $112.5 million. I thought it was going to open up higher. I swore this movie was going to open up to around 140 to 150. I'm not the only one. A lot of experts were calling for that as well, so it's really surprising to see it open up relatively low. In second place, also no surprise, was Gladiator 2 with $55 million, once again opening up slightly lower than expectations. In third place is Red 1 in its second weekend with another $13.2 million, but it's only made $52.8 million here domestically so far. In fourth place is Bonhoeffer, Pastor Spy Assassin, also new to the list, with $5 million. Fifth place, Venom: The Last Dance, just keeps holding around. We haven't talked about this movie yet because I haven't done a show since it came out, but this movie didn't open up very well and everybody assumed it was just gonna disappear really quickly, but it's still holding on very strongly in its fifth week with another $3.8 million, bringing its grand total right now to $133.7. Both Venom 1 and Venom 2 ended up making domestically around $214 million, so I don't think this movie's going to get there, but it's good that it's still hanging around. In sixth place is The Best Christmas Pageant Ever in its third week with another $3.4 million. It's made a nice tidy sum so far of $25.5 million. In week 3, Heretic takes the 7th spot with another $2.2 million, and it's just under $25 million so far. If you have not gone out and seen this movie yet, I highly advise you to go out and see it. This movie was incredible, and Hugh Grant is so terrifyingly good. Make it a point to go see this movie in theaters. In 8th place is The Wild Robot, still in its 9th week with another $2.1 million. $141 million is what it's brought in so far. I didn't think it was going to do that well when it first came out, but here we are. In 9th place in its 5th week is Conclave with another $1.13 million. It's at $29 million. This is not a movie I expected to make that much money, but I did see it over this last weekend, and once again, it is good. If you didn't have plans to see this one, go have plans to see it. Yes, it's a big talk movie. It doesn't matter. You will be on the edge of your seat the entire time. The mystery, the characters, the performances, the directing, the music. Oh, the music. Everything about this movie is just gold. Go see it. And rounding out the top 10 is Smile 2 in its 6th week with another $1.11 million, and it's made $67.7 domestically. Let's go ahead and do our weekend comparison, where we flash back to see how well we're holding up against 2023. This is the 47th weekend of the year, and last year, $116 million was the overall for every movie. And this year, with the big openings of Wicked and Gladiator, even though they were much lower than expected, still blew 2023 out of the water with $203 million. You can see we've been down a couple of weeks since the last time I did this show, so hopefully this end of year surge might do pretty well for 2024, but I kind of highly doubt it. I know everybody was thinking Wicked and Gladiator was going to be like, what were they calling it? Glicked? They were trying to get a Barbenheimer thing going. It sort of worked. They opened up relatively well, but much lower than those other two movies and much lower than expectations. I don't know how strong they're going to hold. I've been hearing mixed reviews about both movies. I don't really have any want to see either of them. So let me know in the comments below if you've seen the movies and what you thought about it. Should they have opened up higher, or do you think they opened up right where they should have? Let's talk about the top 10 movies of 2024 so far. Nothing changed. I haven't done this show in almost a month, and not a thing has changed. We still have the same exact top 10 movies. Inside Out 2 in first place, followed by Deadpool and Wolverine. Despicable Me 4 hangs on to third. Beetlejuice 2 is in fourth place. Dune Part 2 is in fifth. Twisters in sixth. Godzilla Kong: The New Empire in seventh. Kung Fu Panda in eighth. Kung Fu Panda 4 is not in fourth, it is in eighth. Bad Boys Ride or Die is in ninth place, and still rounding out this top 10 is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Okay, so earlier I said that was pretty much all we were going to do for the box office. Now we're going to break down something a little bit more, and it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He is in a crap ton of movies, and I don't even take that lightly. He's been in so many movies since he first entered Hollywood all the way back in 2002. But does he warrant the high paydays? Red 1 is being talked about a lot when it comes to how weak it's performing at the box office, because it cost $200 million to make and a reported $140 million more to market. And the highest cost in all of that was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who took an estimated $50 million payday for this movie. Clearly, the studio is not currently seeing a return on investment from him in this movie, so I wanted to look at his entire career, kind of see how it all played out. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Dwayne Johnson started acting in 2002, has been going strong through 2024. He has had 34 starring roles. He has appeared in many more movies beyond that, but I'm not counting things like cameos or surprise appearances, or even really when he shows up playing himself. I just don't really want to count those. The gross box office for those 34 starring roles has been $12.15 billion worldwide. The total budget spent to make those movies is $3.46 billion. Fun side note, the only 2 years since 2002, so in 22 years, there's only been 2 years Dwayne Johnson has not starred in a movie, in 2020 and in 2023. And if we take that one step further, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has appeared in a movie every single year since 2002, except 2020, where he didn't appear at all in any movie. In 2023, he appeared in a post-credit scene for Fast X, but that's not part of his starring roles. Let's go ahead and look at some charts. Is Dwayne profitable? The next 3 charts we're going to look at are all a breakdown of every single movie that he has starred in, all 34 of these movies. This first chart is his first 11, starting with The Scorpion King back in 2002. The green line is the budget that was spent on the movie, the orange line is the worldwide gross, and the blue line on the bottom there is what the studio netted. If you've been following this show, you know that we used to do a flashback here where I would break down how much money a movie made in theaters, total gross, but then you have to minus what the theaters actually take, what their cut is, to find out how much the studio netted. So that's what that blue line is all the way down at the bottom. What's important here is the blue line higher than the green line? So we can go through and look at all these movies. You can see that some of them are, some of them aren't. Same here with his second set of 11 movies, because he's been in 34, so I tried to break it down evenly, third. Obviously, there will be movies that are much higher, much more profitable than some other movies. But if you want to look at those charts a little farther, go ahead and back up a little bit and pause, go ahead and break those all down, but we're going to move forward. We're going to look at 3 very specific movies. One from the early part of his career, one from the middle part of his career, and a more recent movie. First up is The Game Plan. I think this is the movie that really let people know he had arrived and could kind of carry a movie a little bit by himself. The budget for this movie, this is not just the production budget. This budget that's listed here also includes the marketing budget, because you got to include that. Budget for this movie was $37.4 million. The Rock took an estimated salary of $12 million for this movie. Sir, you were way too early into your career to be taking a $12 million salary on a family-friendly movie like this. We should have known you were going to have a big ego from the get-go. The movie had a net profit for the studio of $68.6 million, almost double what the budget was, so The Rock, I guess you would say, paid off for this one. Hercules from 2014 had a budget, including marketing, of $170 million. The Rock had a reported salary of about $20 million there, and the movie only net profited $114 million. That's insane. So Rock didn't pay off for this one. Even if you took his salary out, that $20 million salary, you still would have been over budget on this movie. But with The Rock also comes a bunch of expectations. So more was spent on production design, more was spent on the fact that he helped produce this movie, so he took a producing salary as well. So maybe all those factors, this movie might have been profitable if you put somebody else in that role. And then we're going to look at Skyscraper, which I believe came out in 2018. That movie had a budget of $212.5 million. Die Hard in a Skyscraper, starring a lesser actor than Bruce Willis, should not have had that high of a budget. And as you can see throughout his career, these three movies, watch how the budget just skyrockets as he gets later in his career. And I obviously know inflation and all that stuff, but that's insane. He had a reported salary of around $20 to $25 million for this movie. The movie net profited $142.6 million. So once again, even if you take his salary out, the movie's not going to be profitable unless you also include his producer credit and all the other things that he wanted to spend money on. It's just a weird thing to look at these three movies throughout his career. But let's go ahead and talk about, was he profitable for movies? Was he worth it? Well, the answer is, out of these 34 starring roles that he's had over the last 22 years, 23 times he has been worth it to be in movies. 11 times he was not worth it. The movie was not profitable in theaters. But this is only counting the production budget on the films. So if you exclude all the marketing budget that the studio had to spend, he would have made the movie money 23 times. But if we go ahead and add in the marketing budget and do a total budget for the movie, was he worth it? Well, the number switched quite a bit here, because now the answer is yes, only 13 times. The answer was no, 21 times. He was not worth the salary that the studio gave him 21 of 34 times. But I wanted to go even further with this. So let's talk about ensemble movies. The Rock has been in a ton of ensemble movies. All the Fast and Furious movies, the two latest Jumanji movies, I would classify those as ensemble movies. He doesn't lead the movie. There's a bunch of other great actors with him that sell the movie as a whole. So here's a list of every movie that I think was an ensemble movie in his career of these 34. We have 9 movies: Be Cool, Doom, Get Smart, Fast 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then the 2 Jumanji movies. That's 9 total movies. So what if we remove those? What if people were going to see those movies not because of him, but because of the entire ensemble? So we're going to take those out of the equation, and we're going to look at those 25 movies. If it's not an ensemble movie, The Rock has only been worth his paycheck 7 of 25 times. He was not worth it 18 of 25 times. And yet studios keep wanting him in their movies. They keep paying him $20 to $30 to $50 million to star in a movie that most likely will not make them money. But let's go one step further. Let's talk about IP. Movies that were already built with a fan base. Either they were based on a book, a TV show, another movie, they're a sequel, they're some kind of IP. Well, he has made 20 of his 34 movies have been IP existing. That starts all the way back in The Scorpion King, which was obviously a spin-off of the Mummy movies, which everybody absolutely loved. Walking Tall, Be Cool, Doom, Get Smart, Race to Witch Mountain, Fast 5, Journey to the Mysterious Island, because that was a sequel to the first one. G.I. Joe Retaliation, Fast and Furious, all of those. Baywatch, Jumanji's. Rampage was a video game first, so definitely based on IP. Hobbs and Shaw is a spin-off of the Fast and Furious movies. Jungle Cruise, which I Guess that's IP. It's based on a ride, which if you think Pirates of the Caribbean was IP, then this definitely qualifies as IP. DC, League of Super Pets, and most recently, Black Adam. That is a ton of IP movies. And if we take a look at how that breaks down, was he worth it to cast in an IP movie? 8 times out of those 20 movies, having The Rock in it made the movie profitable in theaters. And we can't even say that all 8 of those are just because of him, because it's an IP movie, meaning other people were going to see it just because it's a recognizable property. But what about if he wants to star in a movie that's not already based on something? Let's take a look at all of his non-IP movies. He has had 14 non-IP movies throughout his career. The Rundown, Gridiron Gang, which may or may not be IP, it was based on I think a book and then a documentary and then this movie was made on it, so you could challenge me on that one. The Game Plan, Planet 51, Tooth Fairy, Faster, Snitch. Take a look at those 2 movie posters right there. I'm pretty sure that's the same movie. Pain and Gain, Hercules, San Andreas, Central Intelligence, Moana, Skyscraper, and his newest movie, Red 1. That is 14 movies in his career that have not been based on IP. Was he worth it for those movies? If he is the star of a movie that doesn't already have a built-in fan base, can he bring people to the theaters? The answer is an overwhelming no. 5 times. 9 times the movie was not profitable in theaters. Guys, I can't make this up. I did hours of breakdowns of numbers and research trying to figure out this man's career, and I just don't get it. Red 1 is not only the newest failure in The Rock's catalog, it is one of many failures. This man cannot bring people to theaters. Maybe early in his career, he could. He was new, different, coming from the world of wrestling, and so he was bringing those fans with, and people were excited. But once he became a mountain, no longer The Rock, more like a boulder, once he became that, once he tried to be the action star, and he put all of this stuff in place where he can't lose a fight in a movie because it would hurt his credentials, obviously, I just don't think he's the star that Hollywood wants him to be, and yet studios continue to be like, hey Rock, you want to be in our movie? Here's like $100 million to do whatever you want. You're the greatest, but you're not. The numbers prove that you are not a box office draw. You are, by definition, box office poison in any movie that doesn't already have a built-in fan base. So, Hollywood, every studio out there, can we stop with Dwayne Johnson? He's not a good actor. He's not a good action star, and he can't carry a movie by himself. He needs support. You want to put him in all the Fast and Furious movies? Excellent. You want to make another Jumanji movie where he has 3 great actors, and I'm loosely using the word great because I don't think Kevin Hart's all that great, but the other 2 are fantastic. You want to put him in those? Do it. But stop giving this man leading roles where he has to carry a movie because he just can't do it. All right, that's it for me this week. Hopefully you enjoyed the new version of the box office breakdown here on Does It Hold Up? I'll be back again on Friday with our continuing series of redoing the Oscars, going into the past to tell you who I think should have won every single award. And I'll be back again next Tuesday with a quick box office roundup and breaking down something a little more fun. Until then, be good to yourself, kind to others, and keep watching movies.